Good Neriyantiv, good Neriyantiv. So almost here now by Matan Torah. This is the days we've been counting down the days, 49. Working on being mindful and present, trying to figure out what that means. Only to find out that it's the most natural thing to me is to be mindful and present. But let's go into we're gonna do the first ois and a mimer from the Alter Rebbe and Durush L'Shuas, which is Atzli Aman Ve'esh Hashem Yom Yom. In other words, we're talking about there's something called an Aman, something called a Fachman, somebody that he specializes in one thing only, in a specific thing, and he teaches that to his students. Like you can sometimes see a person that's extremely wise in one area, he has it figured out, he is it, he represents that Atzmus in Welt, and in other aspects he's completely not grounded. So that's an Amen. He's a Fachman. He's it's called a pedagogue, right? It's a Greek word apparently. The Alter Rebbe brings it down here. So let's go back a second in consciousness. We'll go back to Pesach. Remember, we learned the piece in Kohanas and of Arizal, just a small piece that we were talking about the Dam, how this works. So Dam, we were talking about 44, and then what happens is that the psoilis, the Dam comes from the Hey Gevuris and the Hey Chasadim, and the Gevuris go in. That's what when the feminine goes through her cycle, a menstrual cycle, that's when she purges that, and the good part of that turns into milk, and that's what the child gets. That's why the mother nurses the child, right? So now we have, as the Alter Rebbe is breaking it down, we have right now 44 days from Shvi'ah Shel Pesach, from when we were born. We're counting from the day we were born. We were born in Shvi'ah Shel Pesach. The Neshama Chadashos are born in Shvi'ah Shel Pesach. What does that mean? They're born in Shvi'ah Shel Pesach. That means that not only Nun Neshama is coming into the world, but literally Nun Neshama is coming into the world, but not like you think, new babies. It comes into the world as to our consciousness. My consciousness is growing. On Shvi'ah Shel Pesach, I receive a new neshama. There's new neshamas everywhere. There's new oil that comes into the world to be able to elevate. And based on the work that we put in and the mindfulness and the consciousness, we process that, we receive that. So now we have 44 days, Mad Yomim, 44 days from Shvi'ah Shel Pesach. So let's go like this. The Chevla Leide, the birth pains happened by the 10 makkos. That's when we received the makkos we were in the womb of Mitzrayim, of the Mitzarim. Our das was captured, we had no das. So the makkos is what was the labor, the birth. And after that, the water broke. That was Kriyas Yamtiv. That's how the Alter Rebbe breaks it down, Kriyas Yamtiv. And then we're born, and now for 44 days, for Mad Yomim, we are nursing. We're being, so to speak, we have from the Cholav. Okay, so this is how it goes. So we have from Dam turns into Dalad Mem, turns into Mad, which is Mem Dalad, which is Mei Dachin. This is Mei Nukva, Mei Dachin, the masculine, the feminine. Okay, so we go through now. We are the feminine. In this case, we're asking for Hashpah. So we put in the work. We put in the Dam, right? We put in the 44 days now of Dam that we put in to cleanse and to purge it. How do we do that in our masculine way? How do we purge? By every day looking at our Nefesh Bahamas and our Midas, and looking and being present and mindful. And where did all this start? Remember, this started from the Hey Gevuris that also we received on Pesach. Pesach night, there was the first night is a tremendous oil, and then comes in the Hey Gevuris. So Oira, that's when we're starting to grow. The behemoth starts to grow because the second night already the oil goes out, and now we're dealing with behemoth comes back into, and it's like this huge void, this thing that lights up and builds this huge mountain, and then light goes away, and what you're left with is this rock. And now we're chipping pieces away from this rock. Why do we need to chip pieces away from this rock? So we can make it to Keser, we can make it to a place that we can't speak about, we can just be in. And how am I going to be in a space when I have such a heavy load on top of me, and then I start moving piece, and all of a sudden, I'm free. So this is what we're doing now. So we just put in the main ukun. We showed up and we worked. The main ukun is the gevura. The bina is the ima, is the gevura. Even if you don't know, just let it go in, let it seep through, and it becomes part of the language. Right? So we have the Hey Gevuras, second night of Pesach, and we worked that through 49 days. So that's Dalam, we were born Shvi Shal Pesach, that's 44. So from Dam turns into Mei Duchen. Mei Duchen is now we're receiving from the masculine, we're getting the Ashwa. Well, after 44 days, we'll get into Shuas. And in Shuas, now we show up, we're the Kala. We show up, we've done our work, we've went to the mikveh, we cleansed ourselves, we did what, every day, the accounting, the Omer, mindfully, everything I did, I was mindful. And now I'm here, and now I'm going to receive. So now what happens is now from this dam that we work now, it turns into chalav, because the chasadim part of it turns into chalav. So now we were breastfed for 44 days, right? So we turned into chalav. And what happens when you get to chalav? Now we bring the shtel and we graduate now, we're done nursing. And now we're coming and we're bringing the shtei chalas, the chita. We bring that to be able to receive now. Because now we're starting to eat bread. We don't need to breastfeed anymore. We don't need milk. Now we're starting to eat. And what happens when we start to eat? What happens when the child starts to eat chita? That's right. He's able to speak now. He's able to speak. Because the child can only speak only when he starts eating chita and he eats dagan. Because it comes from such a high place, not to get into this right now, but we know this already. If not, we'll repeat it some other time, but this is it for now. Right, so now I'm starting to eat from the chita. So I'm able to say Abba. Okay, but wait a second. Pesach, I also had chita, and I was able to say Abba. But Pesach, I was this little child, I was 1 year old, I said Tati, I had no clue what that means. But now I worked 49 days, but 47 from when I was born, 47 days, according to this Maimon, we'll go with the day 47, but 49, let's say. Okay, so now I'm here, and now I bring chita, I bring already chametz, I'm showing up with my behemoth that I worked on. I got it, I figured this out, I know that I'm not here the way I think I am, I know I can actually create, I realize my power, I realize who I am. I'm the Ben Melech, I'm the thing, the Olam Machshava, the thing that created everything. That the first thought he had was Li Yisrael, my child Yisrael. And since we know there's no past and no future, only the present moment, and he had one thought, so what does that leave us with? That's the only thought that's going on over here. There's nothing else happening in the world. Only Li Yisrael, everything. This is it. And now I'm showing up with my shtei lechem, my two chalas, and I'm coming with my chita. So now when I say Abba, I already know what Abba means. I'm in Keser. That means like I was in Choshech and I'm in Keser. Keser is the doubt. My Choshech, I worked on that, I figured out who I am. So now I'm living in Keser. That's Yechida. This is Shuas. This is Yechida Matan Torah. Also the Mem Dalet, I want to go back. So this is one more thing, why we're eating the milchiks, right? The question came up, why are we doing the milchiks? And I couldn't really find according to Chabad consciousness, what's the whole milchik Yesida about? So now we understand why we have a milchik Yesida. Because we turned into Chalav, it went from Dam to Chalav. Right? This is, I think this is going to have to do it. I mean, there's also a beautiful part that at the end of the day, the pots got treif. The pots got so there's another word. The pots got treif. Once they were Kabul Torah, they realized that their pot is not kosher, so they couldn't cook meat. So they're like, but it's Yom Tov of the Welt. We got to do something. We got to do something. We can't just sit over here and be like, what are we going to do? It's a simcha. So they started doing dairy. It was a milchik yesida, right? That's another. It's a beautiful word. It's Gerrit from somebody else. Okay. So we got the Makis Memes Maselas Kris Yamsu Shir Shal Pesach. Yeah, so we'll go from Ma to Dam, Hey Gavuras, Cholev, Milchik, Suda. And also remember one more thing. It says Atzeres Lachem. It's a very, very powerful word. It says Atzeres Lachem in the Torah. Amazamachan Atzeres, but Pesach Shuris and Sigos. So Pesach Atzeres Lachem means the matzah, right? And then Sukkos, Atzeres Lachem, we're going with Kacham Lachem. We got the lulav and the esrik. But Shavuos, what are we coming with Shavuos? Atzeres Lachem. How do we make this our yontiv? My Bahamas yontiv. How do I do that? Lachem, when I'm celebrating myself. This is a yontiv that I'm celebrating myself. I put in my work. I know who I am. I figured out I was born right now. And I'm coming to celebrate this. I'm coming to meet my higher consciousness. I'm coming to meet my higher self. And what am I bringing? What's in my basket when I come to my koyana? What chalas am I bringing? What am I making space for? What am I setting intention? Because the only way Rucha Shel higher consciousness can land is if I got to make space for it. So look, I'm coming now that I worked on myself. I humble myself for whatever it is that I had to do. I realize what's real. I'm living in the present moment. Whatever it is, being mindful. And this is what I'm bringing in my basket to the Kohen Ishalian. This is what I'm stepping into Shavuos. And then when the oil comes down, by Matan Torah, this is it. It imprints whatever space. Come on, upon him. This is it. And the way to celebrate this is b'simcha. Only simcha. It's a mission. Simcha is not easy. It's not easy. It's a struggle. To be mindfully b'simcha. Even if you sit and learn, you don't necessarily know you're b'simcha. You get caught up. You have to keep reminding yourself to be b'simcha. So there should be a Kabbalah Satira, B'pnimius Satira, B'pnimius B'simcha. And we should bring the Shtar Lechem, and as the Rebbe said, we're going to wake up, we're going to find ourselves in Yerushalayim, and then we're going to say, oh wow, Beis Hamikdash. And this is how it's a concept. We have to start making space for that. We have to stop being afraid of our imagination. Because remember that we did the Membez Masas, and I want to cover this from last week. We did the Membez Masas. What does that mean? That we were the Dardea, and we walked in the Midbar, which means that we were in such a high level and such a high consciousness. At that time, the consciousness we were at was so high that no matter what we saw, all we saw is we saw Elikus, we saw Eibishter, we saw everything, even the man. That's all we needed to eat. We were able to survive on man. We saw Elikus and everything. So we walked the Midbar because for the lower consciousness, for the consciousness that wasn't ready to receive the Torah from the Eibishter. Because if yes, we wouldn't have made it. We spoke about this. They were worried about us, about this generation, because this still needs to figure out 2021 consciousness. This is where this has to come, this Mashiach consciousness has to come down to. Because the other parts, we figured it out. So we walked in the Midbar, so we covered all the ground. We did this for this, so now we can go out, and like we said last week, you can let go in your imagination, start imagining what it would be like, what it would feel like to be. Take a moment that you start building this. This is your Beis Hamikdash. You take a moment that you remember, a good moment in the day that was authentic, real, not for nothing, just it was a moment of love. Somebody told somebody a compliment, somebody told you something, or you were able to connect with your child or yourself for a minute. It goes together regardless. When you see yourself, you see everybody else. There's room for everybody else.